Good morning. It's Ginny and Tim at DS Tech
Morning.
in Escanaba, Michigan. And we're going to talk about the two-factor mirage.
Yep.
It's not as safe as you think. An MFA, multi-factor is the new way. And it wasn't too long ago that I was saying, make sure you at least have two-factor, right?
The word was two-factor all the time, but now because of the way security has been going crazier, it's usually multiple ways of getting in. We'll go into that.
Phishing has been going crazy.
Yep.
Which you have some crazy stories in here that I was like, what? Anyway, so I'm anxious to hear the stories. I'm sure you are too. But before we do, make sure you go to our website and look for your free security assessment. And maybe at the end I'll share how to get a good password protect or a password keeper, right?
Yeah,
password safe,
manager,
whatever.
Vault,
anyway,
whatever.
Because we have a good one. Anyway.
So the main focus of this episode is going to be the multi-factor, two-factor, and some of the old methods aren't as secure as they used to be, and they're still better than nothing. And we'll go into passwords, how they're traded around the dark web, and just kind of go through overall knowledge on password and why this is even important. So again,
Maybe we should say what. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Maybe we should say what two-factor means and what multi-factor.
So what two-factor means, to start just before, if you say you came into this episode and you knew nothing at all, two-factor is where when you put in your email and your password on a website, they will usually send you some sort of a code or a text message. It'll say check your email for the 6-digit code to put it in as a secondary measure to make sure that you are who you are. And then once you put in that secondary measure, you can then actually be granted access to the website. So it's two-factor.
Password.
Yep. And then a code. What's happening now though is typically if you have an application set up instead of email, and then you may need a fingerprint to get into the application, well, now you need a fingerprint the application to get the code for the website. So that is what we call like multi-factor, where it's not just a code and that. So that's just to get that base kind of put out there. So
thank you.
So phishing has kind of evolved. It used to be always just fake emails, don't click the link. That's what we said forever. But now because you're getting bombarded with spam text messages, they could be even spoofing you with like voicemail phishing, trying to convince you to log into some stuff. There's QR codes now. There's what they call MFA fatigue, where if you're actually being targeted and they know you work between say 8 and 5 o'clock, as soon as you start after 8 o'clock, they may start logging in and trying to get you to accidentally hit the button during the time that you normally work, and that's more uncommon, but there's just all these different ways.
But I could see falling for that because you're getting to work, you're getting
logged into all
having
your portals.
Your coffee chat.
Yeah, exactly. You're coffee and you're logging into everything in the morning, and then all of a sudden another prompt comes through and you're like, what's that for?
I thought I was already
logged into that. Sure, whatever. Hit okay, and guess what? You just approved it for an attacker. That's more common though, where you go to like a fake website. You may go to like a fake banking website, you put in your information, you hit send, and you're like, that's weird, my MFA code didn't come right away. It usually does. And there's like a 30-second delay, and then it came in. You're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, maybe I'll approve it now. Never hit yes on that, because what's happening is they're taking your credentials live, and then they're going to your bank site, and then they're logging in real quickly with them and hoping that you're still there and going to approve it for them to log in on the back end.
Oh, wow.
So that's, again, if it doesn't come up right away or immediately, there's no fault in saying, no, I'll try it again, and making sure you're at the right website and things like that too. So if you get a prompt and you're like, I'm not really sure if I need to hit this yet, don't hit it. Because guess what? If it does need to come up again, you try to log in, like, oh yeah, I do need this, then hit it. So just that's with the push notifications. Again, that's pretty more uncommon, but that is something to at least talk about or be familiar with. So how passwords work and why that we're going to this MFA and doing all of this is typically, and what would happen is you would get your passwords, and as humans, we reuse them. If I use a password, I like it. It could be secure and long, but sometimes you add a 1 or a 0 at the end of it, or change it slightly in the phrasing. The problem is, as humans, we typically will reuse them over time, or variations of them over time. And the problem is there's been so many data leaks now that any password you've used that's been 3, 4, 5 years old is probably out there somewhere from some account. And how it will work is you hear in the news all the different data leaks. So an example is, say, these are just made up ones, but say there was a data leak from Amazon or whatever company it is, and all they ended up getting was your email and password combination. Well, that's not a whole lot. I mean, they're not going to be able to log in all your MFA. maybe the password's old. That's not too much information on you. But now if there's another data leak from, say, AT&T, and for that one they got your email and your phone number, and now there was a data leak over at Target and they got your email and your address, and now there was a data leak at Blue Cross Blue Shield, so now they have your social security number. And so now, as you're seeing with all these leaks everywhere, what an attacker can do is can build a profile on an individual, and they'll actually have a bunch of information on you, and at that point they will start trying to do the fraud of creating accounts in your name and various things once they piece all that together. So it's very important that you are changing your passwords on all the portals all the time to be completely new, because then any password they're finding online on these data leaks are going to be old and they're not going to match anything that's out there. So that's kind of where your passwords will go to just retire, as they go get leaked on the dark web somewhere, and there's not going away. And there's tons of internet forums where they just trade these lists and go through them. And now, unfortunately, with AI, attackers are able to take giant lists and just ask, AI, can you find the common people in all these data leaks? And it does. So it's really important to be on your game with your passwords, changing them regularly, updating them. And I'm not trying to, sell it on fear, but just the reality of what's happening out there with your password being traded on the dark
Might
web.
as well as assume that everything is out there.
Yeah.
And that you do got to protect yourself. So
yeah. So that's, the big part is where the passwords go. And then, so an old method that used to be used a lot of times is when you log into, say, your email and your password, they'll send you your code to your email. And then your email, you get your 6-digit code to log in. That's still better than nothing at all. However, I highly encourage you, if there's any portals that are like that, see if that portal will allow you to do the next step where you scan the QR code and you get the rotating code in your application, because that is going to be more secure than just sending the email and sending the code in the email. The reason for that is, assuming your email gets compromised, now an attacker can use your email to start resetting all your other codes everywhere else. And so you don't want them to do that. You want to have something in an application or on your phone that's physically separated. So that way, unless they actually had your accounts and your phone, they're not going to be able to do any sort of resetting again without that. And even if they did get your phone, if it's locked behind biometric, like your fingerprint, to get into it, they're still not going to be able to get into it. So that's where we get the idea of multi-factor, is you have the code in the application, which is locked behind your fingerprint, which is then locked behind potentially a separate password just to get into that. So it seems like a lot of hoops to jump through just to log in, but a lot of this stuff is pretty seamless. I mean, for me, picking my phone up and hitting my fingerprint is quicker to unlock than trying to type in a password or the designs that they used to do and things like that. So as much as it sounds like it's a hindrance, once you get used to doing these various tasks, it still flows just like logging in. It's not too big of a deal. There's
3 taps instead of 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we did an episode a while back about if your phone gets stolen. Right?
Yep, I think so, because depending on the phone that you have set up, I mean, for business, that's a whole nother topic where businesses, if they enroll it in a certain way, they can like wipe the phone, factory reset it, do various things to protect it. If it's your personal phone, you got Find My Phone stuff that you can still sometimes remotely wipe it as well.
You can.
So there's different things.
But you got to set that up ahead of time.
Exactly.
But if you want that episode, I'll find it for you. So just drop a comment and I'll find it for you.
Another one that ties into this great is password managers. If you don't have a password manager already, which is basically a program that's like a digital vault that stores all of your usernames and passwords, not your browser. I'm not talking about when you go to a website, you put in your credit card information that says, do you want to save this for later? That's not a password manager. Do not just hit yes on that stuff, but a separate program that is dedicated to storing your stuff that is also locked behind a MFA prompt and some sort of ability to get in is the way to go.
And the one we use
is called Keeper. And so if you're curious on that, reach out. We have it for business, and if you do get it for your business, it does come with like a home user as well, so that any employee you have that's set up for their business, if they wanted to use it for personal, they can do that as well, and it's actually separated in their own little portal from the business part of it there. So so really the biggest thing I just wanted to reiterate is that, yes, the idea of just getting a SMS, like a text code or an email code, it's convenient. It still works, but that's kind of the old method. And I highly encourage you to start looking into getting an authenticator app. There's free authenticator apps. You can get like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator. There's all these free authenticators you can download, and they all function the same, where when you log in, you can hit set up my MFA. It gives you a QR code on the screen. You scan it with your phone. At that point, you'll have rotating codes that change every 30 seconds or a minute, and that's your password digits to get in. The reason, again, that's more secure is it's not tied to your email. So if your email gets compromised, they can't start resetting your email It's on a separate app on your phone, and that'll be the best way to help protect yourself. And I think Microsoft's even like disabling the ability of SMS MFA in the future because they realize that's a common thing that's spoofed, because unfortunately now people can get your phone numbers, spoof your phone number at like a carrier level and get those text messages sent to them, almost like email forwards. And so that's a way why your email texts aren't 100% secure, because they can potentially spoof or get those codes. So that's why having the actual application on your phone is a more secure method with that. So with all that being said, if you want to configure MFA for your business to be set up properly so that every employee logging in has MFA, has to have MFA, there's a lot of businesses that already do that, but if you're not doing that already, reach out. We can definitely do that for you. We can pair it with a password manager to make this easier for your staff. But whatever you do, don't reuse your password. Try to take it seriously, because unfortunately the way we get more connected with everything, it's just going to be a real true thing that you should think about, and have good password hygiene, as they call it.
Yeah. So if you want more information on Keeper, make sure you get in touch with us. And if you want your free security assessment, go to our website and sign up. And we'll see you next time. Stay safe.